Hey everyone, welcome to day 2 of ESL Challenger League North America. I am GRT with Paladin. Paladin, how you doing?
Excited to be here as always. Day one went very swimmingly. I mean, we pretty much didn't have any real upsets, but
No.
today's a new day, and we'll get to see if anything like that can happen because anything can happen at ECL, especially in North America.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see one of the new teams to ECL, E-Xolos-Lazer, who have been grinding away at it for quite a few months now, trying to get to this point. They had a lot of success in advance last season and finally cracked through in relegation. They're going to have a extremely tough test on their hands, as is usually the case for relegation teams, in one of the top 4 of last season, Nouns, who just missed getting that Pro League spot. So before we get onto all of that, though, let's have a look at the format for this season and what the seeding means for all these teams, Paladin.
Yeah, it's again the same format as we had last season, but those of you that are unfamiliar, it is mainly for trying to achieve playoffs. You want to be above that 10th slot, and then anything below 11th, that is straight to relegation, or just getting permanently relegated to advance. So tough luck if you are below that 11th placing, but those of you that are successful enough to qualify to the playoffs, seeding does matter.
Yeah.
7th through 10th go through the lower bracket, and that upper bracket is always going to be very useful, especially for some of those team favorites that can kind of rest and play less best of threes in order to try and qualify for Pro League later on.
Yeah, I really like the fact that, like you said, like the top 2 teams moving forward, even ahead one round, is really nice, honestly, because it gives them that chance to get a break. And if they do end up losing, they don't have to play as many matches afterwards. All that being said, there were a few matches played yesterday. Let's look at how they affected the standings. I think we got 2-0s across the board, if I'm not mistaken. I know Nouns 2-0'd, and we saw yesterday NRG got the 2-0. Let's have a look here.
Well, yeah, we did get to actually go through with NRG and Limitless yesterday, and that was a pretty handed victory for Nitro and his band of merry brothers. Like, exciting to see them play as well as they did. Of course, there's still a lot of work to be done for that roster, but you can see the signs are there, and hopefully that roster can turn a corner and start being a little bit more consistent as far as the top of the table is concerned. But we still yet to see a lot of rosters that we were very excited about actually take to the stage. Legacy, the newly minted Brazilian roster from Advanced, and of course the new M80 roster and PA as well. So still a lot to be excited about before we even finish out this first week of play, John.
Yeah, no, honestly, and PA is going to play tonight. They're going up against Limitless, so that's another tough test for Limitless. And, of course,
Yeah.
M80 are not in the country right now. They're playing in the Esports World Cup, and I think today or tomorrow. I can't remember exactly when it starts. So, yeah, tomorrow. So that's not going to happen for a little bit, but I'm excited to see them just going at the Esports World Cup and seeing how that one goes down, and seeing how they perform. And then, of course, that will determine what happens here in ECL once they return, at least to show what level of form they are at. All that being said, now let's check out the schedule for today. And we already mentioned it, of course. We are covering E-Xolos-Lazer up against Nouns. We're going to call them Laser for short, guys, just to make it a little easier on us. And, of course, on the B stream, we've got Wildcard up against Lag. Wildcard getting a new logo, which I kind of like, and, of course, new ownership.
Yeah, I honestly kind of dig it. It has a little bit more flair to it, and
I do too.
It's
I like
a new
it. Yeah.
roster. I think it's the new roster debuting today, if I'm not
That
mistaken.
is, yes, that's right.
With Fuzi and Susp, that's going to be a super exciting roster to follow. Just in the grand scheme of things, I think there's a little bit of a void going on within the top end of North America, and we can see if Wildcard can kind of fill that void and whether they can rise to the task. But they're currently down 1-7 right now, John.
Ooh, that is tough. I mean, Lag proved to be quite formidable last season, so I'm not necessarily surprised that they're giving Wildcard trouble, especially because the changes have come in and they've got to adjust to a new roster. I think the fact that they dropped Slight was a little surprising to me because I felt like he was doing a really good job for that roster, but their loss is Boss's gain because Boss did really well yesterday, 2-0ing Mythic. Mythic, a team they struggled with last season, which was surprising because of how good Boss was in Season 46 going all the way to the Grand Finals. But now this season, they start with Mythic and they just took care of them very handily, which is a very promising sign with those new additions. All that being said, let's focus in on this matchup here. Lazer up against Nouns. And I mean, looking at Nouns first, Paladin, what do you think they're trying to come in and do here?
I think this is a roster that is striving to be within the best in like tier 2, tier 1.5 North America, and try to ascend to that echelon that M80 is currently at. And if they can sustain at that level as well, you know, the addition of Rush in the previous last bit of the season was kind of a precursor and a testing ground to see, can Nouns be that kind of a roster? And, you know, for the most part, I think the answers are yes, but at the most important hurdles, they had a couple of lapses of judgment, and some of them were kind of against them. They didn't really have any say with, you know, the power outages that they had and what have you, and those rescheduling issues. But for the most part, I am very keen on seeing this roster kind of ascend and reach that top level, because this addition of Rush has really helped out the more aggressive pieces like a Carson, like a CJ, and that means that Rush is that safe pair of hands that allows for that aggressive plays to happen. So for me, I'm really liking the composition of this roster. I feel like the players know and understand what their roles are a lot better than previous iterations, and that makes me very excited to see how they do up against that top level competition. I think they have what it takes to kind of hang around.
No, I agree. And of course, they just missed, like we mentioned earlier, making Pro League in the last season. They got dropped by a wild card, actually, was the team that defeated them, went to the grand final. It was, oh my goodness, I think it was better than the grand final, honestly, having covered it. It was really, really a solid matchup that we got to see between those two teams. And it could have gone either way, went wild card's way, which even, you know, in my mind, makes me question more why they were making the changes. I guess, you know, because they're going to Pro League, they want to try and bolster their roster a little bit. I don't know. We'll see how that pans out. But let's switch sides now and talk about Lazer here. And they have a roster change of their own that they made. Renanzine was dropped, and they picked up Dinoco. What are your feelings on that?
I mean, you were talking about that it was kind of like a side grade,
Yeah,
and I'm honestly with you. Like, firepower wise, it's not the biggest change. I think they're kind of just prioritizing having a player that has already seen the land stage, especially on that Hummer roster, that Hummer Corinthians roster, basically the same thing. Yeah, we'll get into the Veto and continue this conversation about them, because they've been grinding for quite some time, and I really do respect that they came here to really like push themselves once they come into North America. It hasn't been that walk in the park that they were kind of hoping for. We will settle on Ancient, and this is the roster that I think can hang on a map like Ancient, but I've seen Nouns do some ridiculous things on this map that I feel very confident in them as far as this best of one is concerned.
Yeah, I do agree. And I mean, I guess we can get to predictions now. My prediction, of course, is going to be Nouns to take this one and the next one. I think they're going to get a 2-0 here up against Lazer. Lazer have proven a lot. They got through relegation. They defeated teams that, honestly, I was like, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to, but they managed to do it. They got to this point. So I got to give them a little bit of credit, but I still feel like Nouns are just so powerful right now in North America that it's going to take a lot more than that for them to be overcome. What do you think?
Yeah, unfortunately, Lazer has the opportunity to at least be a bigger threat in North America than like other relegation teams, but I just don't think they're of the caliber to kind of rise to the occasion and beat a team like Nouns. They're just not there yet. They haven't got enough practice under their belt, and for the most part, I am very excited about this Nouns roster. They proved a lot to me within CCT, within Thunderpick, and within, of course, ECL last season as well. And yeah, we can pull up those predictions.
Yeah, we can see them.
We kind of said. But yeah, we are pretty firmly in favor of Nouns at this point. As far as like a Qiddiya player to watch, I think you could legitimately look at any of the Nouns players and be excited about any of them. We've picked Junior for today, and I think that he's really shown to me that domestically he is still very, very confident. He has still shown a lot of good looks. Of course, when we talk about the next gear in Junior's game, that's yet to be seen. We want to see that in like a playoff situation, on a land situation, and we haven't gotten to that point yet. So for right now, we can be very excited about Junior and kind of sing his praises.
Yeah, no, and I feel like he actually performed really well in the playoffs last season. There were times in ECL where I felt like he fell flat once the playoffs came along, but last season was phenomenal. I mean, like we talked about, the last match they played was so very close. He was implicated in a lot of those situations, so it's good to see him kind of take that step up. But I agree with you, on land, at the actual big events is where we need to see Junior really start to pop off. But of course, Nouns have to get to that point in order for us to see it. So hopefully soon. we'll wait for it. I'm excited for it, but tonight I think he's going to be one of the stars here for this roster. And you're right, though, they're star-studded, and CJ's one player that I also comes to mind. We could have picked him as a Katia player to watch, but he's just stepped up. I remember thinking about CJ as just like a supporting player. He's there, he's filling a fifth role. He's just on the team, but now he's become so much more than that. And I think it all started when CS2 was released, and that Peaker's advantage that is still there, but was far more significant when the game came out, really benefited his style of play immensely. So it was good to see him rise up, and since that point he's always been at the top 3, I would say, in terms of frags, and I think they finished last season, he was the top 2, I believe. He was right behind Junior.
Yeah, and I think that's the exciting part about this roster, is you can really look to any player and say, yeah, they can just take over the game for you. We haven't even spoken about George, who has just been
yeah,
an absolute
so
revelation. I mean, the amount of multi-kills that this guy can produce, and just round-winning plays that he can produce on either end of the spectrum, T or CT. It's honestly phenomenal to see. And we were kind of touting this guy as the next best rifler, and then he moved to the EG main team, and he lost a little bit of that luster, but slowly but surely he's really found his space and his role on this Nouns roster. That makes me it just makes me so happy that you've got this player that we thought we had lost to that whole EG fiasco, and instead we do still get to retain that talent that he has.
Yeah, honestly, and I think a lot of people were ragging on him at one point. I had a chance to speak to him briefly, and he was just, I told him basically, look, man, don't let it get you down. There's going to be those big ups and big downs that happen. He said, you know what, thanks, I appreciate you believing in me. And honestly, I do believe in him, because I think that he's a player that can have such a big impact. And we saw it here. Once he returned to ECL, he was ready to go. He's always trying to prove himself, and he wants to take that next step. And that's what I appreciate from him, honestly. And I think that we're going to get a lot of good stuff from Junior moving forward. All that being said, I'm trying to have a look here and see if we might have a bit of a delay with the match that's going to be happening here. Let's see. Yeah, we just have a small delay, guys. So we're going to take a very brief break here. When we come back, we should have map number 1 here between Lazer and Nouns. right, we're back. We're going to be live in just a few moments. Players are going to the knife round to decide which side they start on, and it gives us a chance to talk a little bit more about Lazer. You know, we had that swap between Dinoco and Renanzine, which felt like a sideways move, like we talked about a little bit earlier, but Dinoco might give him that experience on LAN, or perhaps the push to get to that point because he's been there before, right?
Yeah, I definitely think that that could be the case. I got to watch him at conference, and that Hummer roster on paper did not look like a good one by any means. They really struggled throughout the open qualifier to get there. Of course, this is like a couple of years back at this point. But the point is he's elevated a lot of rosters to give them a little bit of oomph to him, and see if they can kind of get away with a lot of better results in that sense. Not necessarily get away, but like try to earn a little bit more in terms of the standings and such. But overall, I think this Lazer roster is one that has really just been trying really hard to break in. I mean, they took a huge chance, I think, like for the Paris Major, if I'm not mistaken, with the Sojoga roster, at least this core. And first of all, I don't even necessarily think they should have been allowed to compete, but they came over, they grinded, and they couldn't get through the open qualifier. They weren't able to get to the closed, but they still stayed here, and that I have to actually commend them for. They came here and they just grinded out advance. They grinded CCT matches, and eventually, they were able to qualify to ECL. And I've got to give them props for that to kind of stick it out with that core and show that we still are trying to make this work. And hopefully they can kind of stand the test of time this season as well.
Yeah, and just to give you guys a full breakdown of what happened in relegation, it was a win against Limitless, not the current Limitless, the old Limitless roster, to start things off, and then up against Strife, defeated them too to proceed to the following stage of relegation. After that, lost to one more Esports, but did recover in the lower bracket to defeat Strife for a second time, and also omit to qualify for ECL. So a few tough teams in there, at least in terms of advanced level teams, but they did manage to crack on through. And even the one more Esports match was probably one of their toughest, because that was one of the teams that was from Challenger League that honestly I wasn't sure it was going to make it back. Even Omit, right, were one of the sorry, not Omit, Limitless were the other team, but they didn't make it through. So one more are the only team in relegation that made it back. And of course Lazer, well, they had to fight off against them and didn't necessarily win against them, but it was a very close match.
I was very surprised that Omit didn't qualify. They were honestly my favorite roster out of the four that were in contention, or three-ish,
I agree.
I should say. And it's unfortunate, but that shows the caliber of the team Lazer are to actually win pretty comfortably. What was it, 13-6, 13-1 is pretty awesome to see. So I think that there are very high expectations for me for this roster to kind of hang around in ECL, at least show up to next season. But I'm not exactly sure what we're going to get out of this squad, because I've seen them get some big wins and I've seen them get some really bad losses too. It's really all over the place with this team. And especially considering sometimes they play South American teams and sometimes they play North Americans. Like, I don't really know how to judge them just yet.
Yeah.
Considering both of those regions are very split up for the most part beyond international lands.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. This will be a benchmark for sure for Lazer to see how they perform against a Nouns squad that, can be very up and down depending on how they kick off maps. And psychologically, they've been known to be a little bit vulnerable, I would say, if they get down early. But that has changed lately once Adren took over. And I'm not going to say Semphis wasn't training these guys well. He was. It just they'd reached a point where they were ready to take that next step. And I think Adren was like the logical choice to come in to continue coaching them. And it has proven to be already quite fruitful in that regard. If you watch the way they play, if you watch their style kind of shifting and adapting to certain situations, as opposed to kind of continuing to just hammer their heads against the wall, rushing out and trying to get those quick picks, there's so much more dynamism to Nouns' play, and I'm looking forward to seeing even more of that, because to be quite honest, it was a lot better, but it wasn't good enough. If they even made it to Pro League, I think they would have struggled to face off against the top tier teams in the world. So yeah, there's a lot of growing still left to do for Nouns, but they are definitely on the precipice of something very special if they can keep this trajectory.
When Carson got announced as the IGL, I really questioned it. I was kind of like,
Me too,
it didn't really make much sense. But I think he is slowly learned from players like Semphis. I mean, the coach of Adren as well. But folks, we're still trying to solve these tech issues. Players are disconnecting and reconnecting. But we'll take a short break. We'll stop the waffling and we'll get into the game shortly. Don't you worry.
All right. No more false alarms here, guys. They are going to be going live with map number 1 on Ancient in just a little bit. And just to kind of recap what we expect here, Nouns 13-5 on the map over the last 3 months. You already talked about it, Paladin. They looked absolutely incredible at times here. And then 4-4 over the last 3 months for Lazer. But a lot of those matches weren't necessarily against the top tier of competition, against ECL teams, for example. So it's going to be interesting. I would heavily lean towards Nouns, and we're going to jump into the action. Here we go. Map number 1 is about to get underway.
Knife round won by Lazer themselves, so they'll be able to start on their basically map pick and their choice of side as well. So let's see what the game plan is for the Brazilians in this opening round for the Lazer side. Nouns going through with this with 2 smokes and 2 Molotovs. A more utility-heavy approach as Sandy will take first contact.
Molly out of position. He throws the smoke down to try and hold on here, but gives up cave in the process. It's make it a lot more difficult. They're trying to do it at the bottom of ramp, but Carson gets one. I think a follow-up is going to come through as well from Junior. And no, it's actually Rush, but Landon's holding the fort, at least for now, until George connects with a bullet to his dome. 3v2 in favor of Nouns. Tadazine did manage to regain the space into cave. Now he's going to peer around as he hears that bomb being planted, see if he can catch off the planter. He'll do nothing of the sort. Carson the headshot, and George the last on to W1 to give Nouns the 1-0 lead.
Yeah, I like the idea there from Lazer. They're trying to go pushing down Banana to try and get some opening frags, but I think Nouns just do a very good job of finding out that aggression exists and playing with their food in a way. You have a player jump spotting on the top of that boost box, and then a player shoulder baiting as well as a third player swings wide. It's just too many targets to follow, and those dual Berettas, sure they can spam down range with that many bullets, but it's just really hard to track. Lazer will now go through with a force buy of sorts, but I always kind of question these defensive force buys. It's always tough to try to make them work.
Yeah, it's never easy. We already talked many times about that CT economy being so hard to settle down, especially if you lose the pistol and you can't really find momentum in the early going. So oftentimes you find yourself forcing and hoping that you can connect with some headshots and make it interesting. Well, we'll see if that'll be the case for Lazer here. The Deagle, 3.57 to 19.9 available. W1, oh, nice shot, at least from the 5.7, but George returns the favor with the Galil and will come out victorious, giving his team the man edge. In the meantime, Nouns have walked over to the non-stacked site, that is B, and it will be a free plant and likely the round over. I'm very doubtful that Lazer will try for a retake. They're probably just going to try and reset in the next round with the guns they have.
Yeah, you can double dip this force buy, no problem. W1 will just have the USP, but they've got to keep these 4 players alive and see what they can do. But for the most part, George single-handedly winning that round by establishing mid-control and then finding Donut as early as possible. Standard stuff here for Nouns. They're just getting the job done and making sure not to overcomplicate things. I can't tell you how many times I've seen top-level opposition in North America just try to overcompensate and try to overwhelm the opponent by going into stacks, knowingly going into stacks, and losing the round. I mean, I've seen Wildcard fall to that kind of an issue a couple times with their previous rosters.
No, definitely. I think one team that comes to mind in particular is going a little bit far back, though. Paladin is Bad News Bears. John G was part of that roster, and Shake as well. Like, they would just go right in and charge into stacks, honestly, and I didn't understand it sometimes. Oftentimes it worked out for them, but it just felt like they definitely could have deviated themselves to the opposite site and made life a lot easier for themselves. And I agree with you, it's the right choice. You don't have to flex your muscles, you know. It's in terms of mechanics. You can flex them in terms of your intelligence and your strategies as well, and I think that is even more impactful.
Yeah, completely agree with you, folks. This round is not live. Landon seems to have some sort of ping issue, and we'll have a match medic just shortly. This is the kind of issue that can happen when we do have Brazilian rosters within North America. This happened a lot with like Payne and MIBR and folks when they were here as well. it's just the nature of the beast, and we just have to get it sorted. We want to make sure it's a fair couple of best of ones across the board. I'd hate for Lazer to have to play with a sub or a stand-in or any of the sort, you know.
Yeah, not to mention Landon's their opper too, right? So that's going to be, you need someone who can come in and take care of the opping duties should he not be able to reconnect, but I imagine things will be fine and they'll get him back into the server in just a little bit. Actually, just going to check on that quickly. And it looks like, I think he's back in and they're just doing a medic right now to get everything sorted. So we should be back into the server in just a few moments here. But already, you know, a nice start for Nouns. 2-0 is not necessarily something that Lazer can't come back from, but it's still looking solid for them. Even on that pistol round, it was nice strategically.
Yeah, I think they definitely understand, like, they can't underestimate their opponents at this point.
Yeah.
They've got to play their game, and you know, like, coming into the new season, a lot of the times you're just trying to, like, shake off the ring rust and say, okay, let's try to establish our playbook once more, establish the momentum that we built at the late end of the season, and kind of continue that and rebuild that basically once you start back into the new season. Because again, similar to other moments in history, like, I can't tell you where, like, so many teams that have these great streaks at the end of the season just completely lose all of that momentum when they come back in, because there's something about just, like, continuously playing matches where they're, like, in that flow state. They've got their routine down to a T and they're just getting wins after wins. But sometimes the player break can snap that. I mean, look at Liquid side, right? When they had that player break right before the Berlin major and they get upset and they get knocked out because they didn't practice before they came back from the player break into the major. So stuff like that. I mean, of course, that's at a different level, but you can always apply that to the lower tiers as well. And I think that applies to many different North American rosters across time. So I hope that Nouns understand that. You know, Adren was part of that roster, actually, coaching that Liquid roster. So I'm sure he can kind of impart those words of wisdom to the Nouns roster and make sure that they understand the gravitas of even simple games like this. They should be kind of like a check off the list of players that you should, a team that you should be beating. But it does set a precedent of what we're looking towards when they play a PA, when they play an M80 later down in the regular season.
Yeah, I think I need like an Adren behind me to talk me up in certain points. I took a little bit of break from CS2 and I've been absolutely miserable coming back into it. So yeah, it's always important to have those coaches to keep your head level and make sure that the strategies are on point and everything is still solid when you're going back into it. Anyway, we should be live with the matchup again in just a moment here, guys, as we wait to get into the action here. One thing, I'm not sure that Lazer has a coach right now. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think they do. Do you have any information on that?
I don't know if they do. I'm pretty sure they don't. I think they were thinking about having one when they were under that Sojoka banner, but it looks like that might have fallen apart, and they're just going with this 5-man unit. And you know, it's always going to be tough to, like, not only get a team house within NA and have all the 5 players, like, taken care of and bought out from the org, but also getting a coach under that banner. It's going to be tough, but yeah, I'm not exactly sure. And the other thing is that you're going to have that coach come down to North America as well, which is also a tough ask, right? So trying to find a Brazilian coach to fit all of those requirements will always be a tough bar to climb.
Definitely a struggle. Update, by the way, guys, CJ just lost power, so now we have to wait a little bit longer. I think we're going to take a quick break here, guys, and hopefully when we come back, everything will be sorted. We'll see you guys in a little bit. We're back. Hopefully no more issues, guys. I think Landon crashed after CJ came back, but here we are, round number 3. George charging out Carson, insta headshot onto W1. Moth actually does get a response here onto Carson, and Landon a wicked deagle shot onto George. 4v3 in favor of Lazer. So they're making a lot of noise here, and they've managed to pick up a couple of guns. The thing is, in all of that chaos, Nouns did manage to find the space in towards the B site, and they're going to start to spam away at the players who are trying to run from CT. I don't think there's a path really back in for Lazer at this point. Maybe they can throw those smokes and charge on forward, but I guess they're going to give it a try. I honestly felt like saving the guns would have been worthwhile, although it is a 4-3, so, you know, they can try to charge in even though they're completely isolated by those smokes right now.
Yeah, you really want Denoka to try and find something here as soon as he scales off the site. But it's taking so long. Finally, he gets an opportunity to strike, but Junior is there immediately to trade out. Thinking this pistol will also fall. Yeah, Moth will fall. And maybe 1000 can find one on the fallback, but CJ has heard the bullets ring out, and he'll hold on to this. But a lot of rebuys have to come out for Nouns with all those players going down. Solid little double dip for Lazer. And now Landon gets his AWP out. He gets a full belt of utility. And Lazer get away with an AK as well. So, I mean, I think things look good for the CT side as they finally get the guns out.
No, definitely. I think that's a nice play from Lazer, at least to do the damage to the economy of Nouns. If you're looking at the money there, it's only CJ who's got a comfortable bit of cash at 4.9k. Everyone else quite low. Peeking around, gets the shot on W1, who was jiggle peeking a little bit too far around that corner. Denoka's going to try and make up for it. He does with one. Can he get a second? Yes, it's actually Landon who finds it, but Rush will find the immediate trade, and now they've got the space gained onto the A site. Lazer already setting up for a potential retake. They got the utility this time to try and get on in. You see Tadazin is looking to lead that charge. Flashed in, going forward, but they're all waiting from the same angle. Nice shot.
Eventually, Carson has to make some sort of a move, but George has the bomb, and he's the one with the advanced position. It's being watched. Now it's Rush's turn to strike, and he'll find one of his own. Molly in. Bomb should be able to go down, I'd like to think. Yeah, there it is. Smoke.
He thinks someone's in main.
Yeah, they're just so worried about a flank at this point. But there's nothing there. They're chasing ghosts at this point. And another Molotov to start to delay things, but Jordan will plant it nonetheless. Landon gets out, has an opportunity out of kill onto Rush. He has to flick over, but Rush is a little quicker.
Yeah, that's a nice shot from Rush, making it a 2v1 here. Moth going for the 1v2 clutch, throws the smoke out for Donut. That will sort of isolate the fights. Yeah, it will. George doesn't care. Gets the headshot immediately onto Moth and says, you can isolate the fights all you want. You have to get past me first. And he does not. 4-0 in favor of Nouns, and that one will hurt the pocketbooks of Lazer. Looking at the money, probably just going to be a half buy coming through here, and it will be a potent one, right? You've got 3 MP9s coming in and the A1S for W1.
Yeah, I mean, you've got max loss bonus. You can take some risks. You can try to purchase down. I think W1, even with this aggressive purchase, should still be able to get out at least a FAMAS in the following round. So no harm, no foul in that sense. The triple play for them into the cave. They just want to take all that lane pressure, but again, right place, right time for Nouns, as they basically got this A site for free. Sure, there's a there's a dink, but there's a kill as well for W1. He'll rotate into Temple, has another opportunity at a kill if he looks for it, but CJ is there to take that away from him. So this bomb should be able to go down unless Lazer want to go swarming through it.
Well, Rush does actually get dropped by Landon's pistol. The Molotov should come in. It might be a little bit late. CJ does manage to clean the clock of Denoka, and now a 3v3 situation. You're looking at Lazer's money. It's still good, right? They can buy up in the next round more than likely, so I think they're going to test it a little bit more. Moth gets caught up by George. He gets dinked, but it's not too bad, and Tadazin says, okay, it's time to pull the plug. We got to fall back and save whatever we can. He's got the armor and the MP9. Landon only a piece of it. He's going to hunt around and see if he can find something on the ground, but I mean, they're going to have to go all the way back to A main to find anything, and that's what they're going to try to do. They can get some frags here, and there's one and a second. George and Junior offering up upgrades to the Lazer players, and CJ goes down to the bomb. as Tadazin will get an upgrade to an AWP. That is a big piece to get off the board, and Nouns continue to struggle to keep bodies up, and you see that in their economy.
Yeah, this is not the cleanest 5-0 start. This can all kind of fall apart if they're not able to continue to string these rounds together as they continue to force buy, or not force buy, repurchase really. But now with this tack timeout coming in for Lazer, they have an opportunity to take out the double sticks if they want to, considering they were able to save one. That option is available to them. But there does need to be a little bit of a change up. Right now, they're kind of gambling a little too much for my liking. You're having triple plays in important positions. You're having a lot of eggs being put into a specific part of the map. And I don't really like that. It's not a good, efficient way to play the defense on Ancient. But sooner or later, I think they'll realize that and try to hold back a little bit more.
This might be a tech timeout. It is! Landon crashed. So, waiting for Landon to rejoin. He might already be in the server, and it could just be the HUD that is not updated. We're going to check on this. All right. Yeah. It is indeed another crash that's come through. It's unbelievable, man. It's one of those days. But there he is, back in the server. Welcome.
Yes!
Back to CS2, Landon. Yes, indeed. We have a lot to celebrate here. And Nouns has even more to celebrate than Lazer, of course, with this 5-0 lead. Like we said, though, a little precarious because their economy hasn't really had a chance to kind of get built up a little bit here. But they will have AKs across the board regardless versus Lazer. Got that all picked up off the ground, which they could have bought anyway, but it helps them build up an economy that is exceptionally more valuable on the CT side.
Immediate utility being deployed off of lane. Here comes that aggression, and George goes down immediately. There's a team kill involved, and actually Nouns come the better of it. There's only one player on the site proper for Lazer, and there will be no immediate rotations either, so this bomb should be able to go down no problem, and 1000 has fought immediately ahead of that smoke, going 1-for-1. Still a man advantage available for Nouns, and they'll make it a 1v3 for Landon.
Landon gets the shot onto Rush. That's a freebie for him. Rush is pushing through the smoke, a little bit ill-advised. Bomb is planted, and it's going to be tough for Landon to push his way back into the site with the AWP. There isn't really a rifle nearby him either, so I think he is going to choose to fall back. Had the kit, but maybe it was just a lack of situation that he decided to pull the plug on. It will be 6-0 in favor of Nouns. Again, they lose a lot of bodies, but the important thing is, at least for them, is they keep racking up these rounds.
Yeah, things look very good for Nouns right now. I mean, they're calling out gambles, they're calling out aggressive maneuvers that Lazer are trying to send Nouns' way, but I think when you try to play chaotic CS with these guys, 9 times out of 10 you will not succeed. I feel like that is where they flourish and where they provide some of their best rounds of Counter-Strike. So I think Lazer, you've got to temper your expectations a little bit. You've got to find another way to start chaining together rounds, because for the time being, Nouns have just really had Lazer's number in every step of the way.
George's going to try and take the fight early here towards mid, but a Molotov slows him down a little bit. I should say incendiary. Thrown by the CT side. Flash comes out for George to gain a little more space. They already have the smoke thrown for Red Room, so George does have the ability to push up further if he wants to, not to mention Carson's watching lane. But they're going to be a little bit more tempered with how quickly they go up here. It's mostly a default right now for Nouns. They're looking for pushes.
They've got themselves mid control, full lane control as well. A lot of early map control gained, and this is what I was kind of hoping for Lazer, that they would sit back a little bit more and not get too gambly with things. But, I mean, they're getting pulled apart this map and then some, so they're going to have to start making some hard decisions and bolster one part of the map at the very least. They're going to try to crunch on mid-late straight into George's crosshairs. And George finds one. That's huge in the grand scheme of things. They're going to continue to waste time to try and clear him out. that by the time they do, Nouns will pounce on a B.
Yeah, and that's 3 confirmed players there for George. So now you can say, hey guys, just go in. There's 1 at most in your vicinity. They're watching the flank for the pushes. They should be able to get this slant down. Good spam by Moth through the smoke. Takes down CJ. Denoco connected on down to 43. And they will indeed find that bomb plant. But again, a little bit precarious in the post plant situation. Landon really looking and hoping he can help his team out with an important op frag here. Junior sprayed down to 34. Smoke in Carson's face. That will isolate one of the players. Junior's in a really tough spot. He's just hiding behind pillar. Pops around, gets his head taken off. W1 and Moth moving in. Rush the last one standing. He just has to buy time here. He's doing it for now, but won't be able to close it out. Finally, Lazer have got a round on the board.
Yeah, that's great work there from Lazer. Confirming a post plant that they should be winning every single time. Fantastic smoke to deploy. You're not risking the random swing into cave. You're simplifying that retake as much as possible. I like that little setup that they had where they're spamming that bomb pillar, and as the reload comes in, the second player is already there to bait out a shot. And you know, we spoke about how close these rounds were and how they aren't able to actually save too many guns at the tail end of the 6 rounds won for Nouns, and now they have to suffer the consequences. It is an eco and a way back in for Lazer to start climbing back into this game of Ancient.
Nouns are always very lethal with those pistols. I would say particularly Carson with the Deagle can pop off a few nice shots. So Lazer cannot sit back on their heels here. 3 players for Nouns working their way up towards that B ramp. Junior leading the charge. He's overlooking Landon not long, but he wants to try and hide himself from that angle. Cubby here and misses the shot. Gets taken down to 13 HP. Tadazin wide swinging around that corner, but eventually will retreat, playing it more passive. Nade connects for some damage, but it won't find Junior, so still no frags here in the first minute of play of this round, and Nouns are, well, they're running out of time to make a move here. Tadazin's got a great position as well to punish should they charge through. Good flashbang drone. Tadazin gets 1, 2, and maybe a third here. Yes, he does find, actually no, it's Moth and Landon who are going to get 2 and 3 and 4 in terms of the frags, and Junior the last one standing here.
Pretty much a formality at this point. Lazer getting that eco over and done with, and to keep as many players alive, and they'll keep that clean sheet. So second round found for the Brazilians as they slowly start to make their way back into this game. I'm liking the adaptation from them. They're understanding how they want to approach this map a little bit more. Of course, when you play against a roster like Nouns, it's always going to be tough to find your bearings in all of this chaos. Slowly but surely, they're finally finding their footing. Tack timeout for Nouns as Adren gets on the mic to really discuss this round. I think this does have some serious ramifications as far as where this half is going to shift towards. 6 rounds is plenty on the T side for sure, if you're Nouns, but you want to confirm as many as you can at this point, because you know when you get off to a 6-0 start and you end the half at a potential 6-6, you do feel like you could have gotten away with a little bit more. So a lot kind of riding on this in terms of their mentality as far as the rest of this map goes.
Definitely. I agree with that. So, you know, we'll see. They called the timeout. They talked things over. Now they're going to run into round number 9 with a plan ahead of them. 4 Galils and the lone AK available to them. Why did they do that? Well, they want the full util set for everyone. They don't care as much about having that one-shot headshot potential. Hey, you know, the Galil has 5 more bullets than the AK, so that's something. They're going to be charging out towards that B site. And they do get 1. George immediately traded. W1 gains this space, so now they have to be careful going up towards lane. They do have CJ coming in a little bit late, who could catch them off. Oh my goodness, Rush just charging through the Molotov, and it works. He's actually supporting CJ, who himself finds a 2K, and now Tadazin or Moth are the last two standing towards the B site. A peek around does not net Tadazin anything, and Moth will manage to get the trade, but with his position known, Carson delivers the killing blow, and Nouns are right back on the scoreboard with a 7th.
that's an all-out brawl in mid, and sometimes it won't go in the CT's favor, especially when CJ is hitting shots like that. He's got the support from Rush. It's a bold call to fight within those flames, but I do believe that was a T Molotov, meaning that he does take less damage in that. So, as you can see, even after taking that many ticks, he was still on 63 HP. So, things look pretty good for them as far as that mid-coach is concerned, and then it's kind of a Hail Mary play for those rest of those B players and trying to see if they can find something that sticks and backs turn, but not to be this time around. And Lazer, their funds are running dry, trying their hardest to stay within this game, but right now, mechanically, Nouns are just a step above.
That's a nice nade pop coming through there, and Incendiary goes for K from Rush. He's got the sight, but he gets traded after finding one. Moth could find the follow-up as well, and he does. There you go, 2K for Lazer. A lot of damage taken by W1 towards the A site, though, and that's where the hit is actually coming. Dinoco and CJ trade another couple of kills, and we've got a 2v2 on our hands. CJ's going to try and stick this plant. There's a player right around the corner. Is he going to spot CJ in time? I don't know if you'll see him at all. There we go, and Junior protects him. His guardian angel saves the day. Moth, the last one standing in a 2v1 that could not have been played better, but Moth is going to try and throw a wrench into Nouns' plans. Bomb ticking away. Moth moving around. Junior gets off the angle. Oh, he slips past too. Makes the readjustment. No way Moth expects this, and that will do it. 8-2 in favor of Nouns.
That is insane from Junior. Yeah. I mean, he hears the extra footstep from the player in Temple and opts to leave that angle. That is crazy. And as soon as he gets behind it, you know the round is over. There's no chance for that clutch to ever happen. But when you look at it from a bird's eye view, that is just Carson running Lazer around in circles, just basically chasing ghosts. Two players go out B, and they're already through A main, right? I mean, it's a war on two fronts, and Lazer essentially lose both of them. So right now, Nouns just having their way with Lazer, and the CTs can't do anything about it. This time, it seems like a little bit of a 4-1 split into that A site, with George being that late lurk as they try to approach this first letter of the alphabet.
Yeah, George plays that lurk role really well. Moth will get the opener here on Carson towards a main. The follow from Dinoco. This is just a half buy from Lazer. It's already started out very well. It's typical of the way this entire half has played out so far. George is going to get the response. There's another player here, and he won't get the headshot there. In fact, he gets one on himself from Moth. 4v2, AK upgrade now available, and I mean, Nouns are trapped. They have to just commit here because they don't know what's behind them, and they have to use the control that they've gained.
Junior's considering trying to plant, but I mean, that is basically a death sentence. An AK and an MP9 on the other end. You've got players able to cut off potential rotations away. I mean, CT spawn is open. If they want to plant B, there is that gap. But 30 seconds left on the clock. At this point, I think they're just trying to find a straggling CT to punish and confirm that bomb plant. They don't have a smoke for Donut either. So this plant to be secured is going to be a tough one. They're essentially going to have to plant for CT spawn.
Yeah.
And hope that there's nobody there. Luckily, there isn't.
Oh, man. Well, we'll see if they can pull it off. They do have one unarmored player in land, and he's the one coming from A main. Lazer slowly but surely going to move their way into the site. They didn't bite at all on the potential rotation towards the B site, even though it was kind of vulnerable. Tadazine might have been the reason why, because he rotated around. There's CJ finally landed. Junior's got a really good angle here. No, kill comes out. Is it at the wrong time? Indeed it is. Tadazine finds him, and Moth gets CJ. There we go. Defusal will be coming through safely, and Lazer have got themselves a third round on an eco. Or I should say a half buy, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit brazen to go for that A main play contact against a half buy. And I do think that a little bit of a misplay with those flashes. I think if you hold your ground, I think hindsight's 20/20. I think he's thinking that there's just nobody coming through CT spawn, so he can chance it. But Tadazid just plays that so passively and never shows his face that eventually that is just the kill that defines round number 11 for Lazer. So he salvaged 3 rounds, had a chance for a 4th as well. But it's going to be an all-out mid-brawl here for Nouns at the last round of the half, and they're able to get out. They're able to pretty much do it with no damage taken.
Yeah.
And Lazer will have to recuperate.
Strike first, misses the shot, and Carson will make him pay for that. 5v4 immediately here, and now they're going to flood in towards CT spawn and into the A site. The bomb is still back towards mid. He needs to be careful how he plays this, and he does manage to spray Denoco down to 40 HP. I think he's going to leave that to Rush to take care of, and Rush will indeed do exactly that. Junior hears the footsteps on the flank. He has to get a move on, realizes that. Now Rush going to be watching, waiting for that player that Junior heard. It is W1. Towards Donut. The other two are trying to come in from the B site, but this looks very, very good for Nouns. Rush gets the headshot, even though W1 had the advantage there. Madison finds a response, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Indeed, it won't be. Moth, the last one standing up against 4 players, nigh impossible, and indeed, it will be a Nouns round victory. 9-3 in their favor as we head to the halftime break. All right, we're back. Second half of action. Nouns have a very commanding lead heading into the second half. 9-3, only 4 away from securing map number 1 here. Well, Lazer did make some noise in the latter part of that half, though, right?
Yeah, they salvaged something that could have spiraled way further out of control. And now they've got to see if they can make do with these 3 rounds and make a crazy, crazy comeback. Got themselves 2 picks to start things off. They just go charging through their own Red Room smoke. The Rapid a B into George's dual Berettas. But I don't even think he'll be able to hear much of this. And they've got Molotovs to stall out a swing. And this should be, in every sense of the word, a laser pistol round.
Probably. I'm leaning more towards definitely here. As Junior and CJ are trapped in one angle. There's Junior, last one standing, nothing doing. He only gets one. And that will give Lazer their 4th round on the board. An important one to get here, to get off to a quick start here in the second half. I imagine Nouns force here, but I'm not sure because they have the 5-round lead. Old Nouns would have done it, but new Nouns are a little more patient.
Yeah, I think they're going to opt in for the full eco. And look, I think it's the more rational decision. You don't want this lead to balloon. You don't want them to get too confident either. We know how hyper-aggressive Lazer have shown themselves to be, at least on that defense. Yep. And it's a whole other can of worms to try and unravel that on the offense.
Over a donut, and it will be CJ connecting with a headshot, and well, a little bit of damage done, but that'll be the end of it, right?
Yeah, oh, Carson does find another. And there's a couple more low HP bars going to recover that Galil, but Moth, that high HP bar, should be able to handle this no problem. And actually, Carson just opting in to completely save the Galil, which he can. It's not like I personally wouldn't save it, but I think it's really just a priority of the dollars in the bank account more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, like I was talking about earlier, and like we've talked about many times, like that CT economy is so important to stabilize. So I think it's definitely a matter of, hey, we need to get the money going here a little bit sooner rather than later, and that Galil will certainly help their cause there. Lazer, though, they got a couple here in a row to kick off this second half. The lead's cut down to 4. Landon wants to try and hunt down Carson. I don't think that's going to happen, and it will not.
Now then, that saved Galil. It'll come alongside full rifles for Nouns. Not everything you could ask for, but solid enough to fight back against this bonus round of sorts for the T side. Junior tries to go for a glass cannon AWP. Haven't really spoken his name all too much, and curious to see what kind of stance he takes, aggressive or otherwise, but he's tasked with just holding on to the A side of the map all on his own.
Yeah, he's pretty good at this, honestly, anchoring down the A site with the AWP. So we'll see if Lazer can punch through there. They're not really threatening A that much right now. They've got 3 players leaning towards the B site, the bomb included. Rush, holding this angle, may catch Dinoco off guard. We'll see if he hard clears it. Rush comes out, and actually Carson supporting makes it even easier for Rush. Carson taking all the damage there. Secure the frag, Landon's managed to get a response. Intel's on the other side, and Rush will have to retreat now as he is sprayed down to 22. 4v4, Junior readjusting himself. That flashbang is so good. Moth gets in. I don't know if Junior expects it. He does, and he connects through the wall onto Moth. Taking him down to half health. Then the headshot. Peeks again, and that's a step too far. W1 will find him, but Carson's right there for the immediate trade, so good on Nouns, making the adjustment to deny the space, but Lazer even better, dynamically moving themselves towards the B site and securing a bomb plant in the process.
That's the power of having a little bit of mid control and that shelf control, most importantly. They hold on to lane for so long that they have the option to double back. Credit to Tadazin for that. And here comes that inevitable plant. The pin drops, and Nouns come in for the rotation. They've got a kit up, but a couple of low HP bars. It should be all on Carson there, but yeah, as you said, decent enough damage to have a big impact.
But they fall back. It's not enough for them. They decide that they want to save the AWP and the AK, which I think is potentially the right choice here. It's a 2v2. Tadazin, I mean, that's confirmed damage from Carson. But they
the kit was dropped
that's
too.
Not enough. Yeah. I guess the kit being dropped is another factor. You're right.
Well, Lazer making a game out of this one. John cuts the lead down to 3. And most likely 2. Barring
I don't
crazy
think so.
shenanigans?
The only reason I think is because they got the double save. They have enough money to buy up here, and Nouns are going to invest. There's no way they don't buy up here with Carson at 5.9K. There you go. So it's going to be a decent amount of hardware available to Nouns. I think utility should be pretty strong as well. I wouldn't say that 2-round lead, or cutting it down to a 2-round lead for Lazer, is a 4-round
I was
conclusion.
mistaken.
Yeah, it's okay. As we move in, 1:45 on the clock. CJ. Oh, he wants to get aggressive. This could work out for him. CJ decides to fall back instead. Thinks that caution is the better side of valor here. Nade gonna come at that. Nade could be so very chonky. There it goes. And, well, he had 2 players get connected on from it. CJ gets nothing, though. He is deleted off the server in this round, and Carson will follow him there to the depths of the map. 5v3 in favor of Lazer, and it's already a save call for Nouns. So it is that
Very,
2-round.
yeah. I guess it did come through, but I really didn't like that A setup from Nouns there. I mean, you've got a player that's like all the way back in CT spawn, and that nade is decent, but like on an MP9 alone, you're not really gonna have much impact without at least a little bit of support. There was a round previous that Lazer had where they had an MP9 involved, and you had like a little bit of a high-low setup. You had a player on tree and a player below that fighting and aiming between each other, and that's where you can have a little bit more potency, but it doesn't work out, and that defense just kind of rolls over. Not the prettiest round there from Nouns, and Lazer capitalizes. Great spacing between them to make sure that all those trades go as swimmingly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Lazer starting to impress us a little bit. Timeout going to be called here from Nouns to talk things over. They are also a little bit rattled as to the proceedings of this second half. Looking at the buy-up, though, they still got the saved guns through, so they will be able to invest once more, and it's even stronger than the previous one. They've got to be a little better on the defensive side. Looking at Lazer's history in the last few matches they've played, look in particular against One More, that was a very close series. The last map specifically, Nuke, 19-22 loss to One More, and that was in relegation. Then you look at CCT Season 2, North America qualifier number 1, I believe, or North America number 1, excuse me. Carpe Diem, that matchup, they won it and defeated Carpe Diem on Dust 2 19-17 and on Nuke 13-9. And we saw now Carpe Diem, known as Limitless, of course, play last night. Not necessarily a team that's at the top of ECL, but they've certainly kind of cemented themselves around the middle part of it. And I would say that's an important win for Lazer heading into this season. And right here, well, you guys are seeing it live.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be excited about this Lazer roster. They've shown that good form, but this one they're gonna have to dig deep in a 4v5 as they lose W1. Again, CJ plays with that shadow angle, this time deploys a Molotov, but the flash is absolutely immaculate. It catches out CJ, but Junior isn't missing a beat. Triple kill for him, and lineup. Right into Carson's crosshairs goes the IGL, and Lazer crumble in round number 17, and Nouns found themselves double digits.
Yeah, those saves were so important for Nouns to keep the guns up and running round after round, as opposed to having to settle for a save. They never had to do that at any point, and that is what allowed them the opportunity to eventually strike back. And of course, that sizable lead coming to the second half assists them as well. 10-7 still. Lazer will have the AKs coming through, but this might be a make or break round for them. Going out there towards mid, yeah.
I mean, they're so hell-bent on trying to crack through this A defense, but Junior, again, is able to take first contact. This is a little different to the round previous. They've been able to get this far up, but not aware of the sniper rifle. Moth is ahead of the incendiary, but Junior hits a magical flick. Make that a triple. Junior's on for one. Make it a quad kill. And it's all up to W1 late on, and Junior wants this ace so badly. They're kicking up the smoke, but they're not able to find him. What a round. Back-to-back there for Junior.
Oh, my goodness. Junior's exploded now up to the top of the scoreboard with 15 frags. As you mentioned, looking to get that ace here. They're just waiting for the smoke to fade. W1. Was about to show himself, but waits a little bit longer. Gotta watch Junior's perspective here to see if he can pull this one off. Molotov goes in.
Oh, give it to him, man.
Oh, no. And he throws the smoke, and now they're spamming with the AK. Junior, take the shot. Oh, no. W1 is going to fade off here momentarily. 4 Nouns players, all 5 in fact, are just leaning into the angle. They know he's here. They're trying to flush him out to give Junior that shot at the ace. He's waiting there lined up. There it is! Junior connects finally. Made him wait a good 40 seconds, but the ace comes through for the offer of Nouns.
Man, I mean, every bit of that sequence was just immaculate to watch. That's why he is heralded within North America. He has that capability to just take over. And look at what that's done to the Brazilian economy. 2 Tech 9s for Landon and Moth, a Mac 10 for Tadazin, and their economy has just been completely snapped here, John. Talk about backs against the wall.
This is
going
going
A again.
Going in again. Junior misses the shot. That is a big miss because now Lazer can try to funnel in. They also find the frag onto CJ, and Junior can't really re-peek. Molotovs are coming in. Utilities everywhere. This is just a full-on rush from Lazer that so far has worked out pretty well. Round not over yet, and there's plenty of money in the bank here for Nouns. They're going to go for this one. They need something. Another great flashbang thrown into Catacombs onto Junior. Dinoco looking around, spamming through the smoke, connects onto Rush. I mean, there's a world where you still try for this one, but saving is probably a good idea because you have to keep your economy healthy. They still feel like they want to go in. George gets headshotted by W1. Junior, a nice little flick onto Tadazin as he came around the corner, and they're going to push in, as they should, to try and pick up these Nouns players. Junior misses a shot. Looked like it was on, but it will be Lazer getting all of the players off the server on the Nouns side and getting an 8th for themselves.
It is insane behavior to call this many A hits. They're thinking, yeah, Junior, he's not doing that again. And they'd be right. It was one missed shot from Junior, and that pretty much spelled disaster because CJ genuinely has been having some trouble off of Donut. I don't think that he's been having as much impact as I've been hoping for, but he is kind of also in charge of middle, so being pulled back and forth is going to be a tough ask. And Nouns stay firmly deciding that this is not going to happen again. They're not going to go A for like, what, the 5th time? And they'd be right in that decision making. Oh my god!
Okay, Carson, what is that? Just a dead-on spam through the panel. The lineup comes through. A man advantage in a way that neither of us expected, but they've got it for Nouns. Lazer just trying to reset themselves off of that and say, okay, a little bit unlucky in that situation, but we will try again. And they've got 2 players moving into mid. The bomb carrier is also out, going to meet up with both players, I imagine, into lane. Does Junior have an angle here? He might if they go a little bit further to the right, but they don't. Rush waiting in cave to greet them here. Smoke's going to go out that delay Lazer a little bit further, and they've got 3 players on. There's Junior spotting out W1, who tried to poke in towards mid once more. That time he was watching.
And now it's so telegraphed that this B hit is coming. They know that lane has been lost. A 3-player stack can come in. This is going to be a limp execute at best. 30 seconds left on the clock. They've got no other choice at this point, John. They're going to have to go basically full gray screen. And I don't think they've got what it takes at this point.
Carson going to get another. George on the board as well, and Landon, the last one standing. Oh, goodness. Landon, 14 seconds. I think he just wants to try and save the op. Going down after time would be catastrophic, so he has to get the heck out of dodge. But he hangs around. Just wants to hold this angle. Nouns looking everywhere to see where he might have ended up. And at the end of it all, they're not going to spot him. He's going to be able to save the AWP. But Nouns have the all-important 12th round victory, and they are on for map point.
Lovely, lovely stuff here for Nouns. They find a way to finally stabilize off the back of Junior's ace. And since then, it does feel like he's turned to another gear. 94 ADR, 18 and 10, shooting up the scoreboard. And with that, Lazer's economy has been shattered, even more so than the rounds previous. And they're really just sending it all out in middle from W1's Mac 10. He'll go 1-for-1 that they can favor. But now it's up to George, going very aggressive. Cold call here. They take out the AWP, but the team kill is there from Tadazin, and Rush will finish out the job. 13-8 goes the way of Nouns in this opening map. And, you know, I gotta say, good effort from Lazer, showing a little bit of a fight. But you can just see the caliber and the mechanics of these players on Nouns across the board will eventually just get the job done, and then some.
Yeah, absolutely. But definitely Lazer gave them run for their money at certain points, in particular around the middle point of that second half. We saw, okay, something might be materializing here, but now it's just a little bit stronger, and they're able to kind of shut them down. We're going to check out the Kadea player to watch here, which was Junior, and you can see it right there, guys. There's a reason we picked him. 96 ADR, 1.90 KDR, and of course those 19 frags, the majority of them, in fact, happening in like the last 3-4 rounds, right?
Yeah. I mean, this guy has been very exciting to watch as far as that CT side goes. You don't necessarily see so much impact from a CT AWP, at least on Ancient, or just AWPs in general on Ancient. Yeah. It's really hard to get pulled across in different parts of the map compared to maps like Overpass or like Mirage or stuff like that. So really cool to see him show that kind of impact on the AWP, and especially trying to kind of bolster back Nouns into that game. Lovely stuff from him. But yeah, that's Ancient done and dusted. Now we move on to a potential pick of Nouns on Mirage. I mean, we've seen how many crazy victories they've had on that map. It's not going to be much easier, but we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have that second map for you in this best of one series.
we're back here. Map number 1 is done. It was a 13-8 win for Nouns on Ancient, and we head to map number 2 here, which I believe is going to be Mirage. We already talked about that. We're going to see the veto that led to it below us on the screen here, guys. But we all know that Mirage is a map that Nouns absolutely love to play. They were there and pulling off an insane win streak at one point last season. It was something insane, like a 17-1 record at one point, but it's now a little bit more vulnerable. Still 10-3. It is their home turf. It's going to be exceptionally difficult for Lazer to beat them on this map, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the losses that they did take. One was against Legacy in the CCT final, and that was a close affair. Yeah. I think Legacy have done a lot of really good work on Mirage. They're definitely no slouchers. And then one to M80, which of course it's M80. I mean, if you want to look towards any roster that could take them down, it would be them. And then the only outlier that I'm like kind of questioning is the one against Elevate. But this was in that showdown qualifier where I think this was one of those best of ones that they have in the group stage.
I think
it was. It was like that elimination game. Yeah. So I don't really rate those games as like a real like litmus test as to how a team plays on it. But for the most part, I think Nouns have shown that they're pretty much spotless on this map. I think this is where you get the best parts of Carson and CJ. This is where they just get to work. They do so many incredible things off of middle with their aggression, and Rush is just the safest pair of hands on the B site.
All right, with all that being said, here we go into the action. Nouns starting on T side, Lazer on CT, but like you said, I mean, this map both on T and CT is one that Carson loves to take mid control on, and I mean, it benefits him not only as a player because he does get the frags and do quite well for himself, but as an IGL, gaining the information for his squad on both sides of the map. Junior moving up towards Cat, 1:33 on the clock. Dinoco sees a player, taps away. That is Junior. He won't find the headshot. He gets so much information here. I'm surprised they're not cleaning him out. There we go. It eventually happens. Junior flicks around that corner and finds the headshot with the P250. Lazer have a couple of players on A. There will be 3 eventually, and a 4th is trying to lurk in. That's Landon. He hasn't been hurt either because he's walking forward.
But that bomb will go down nonetheless. They're being pincered in from basically every angle. Somehow, Landon can't find the shot initially. Junior's cat flank finally comes to fruition. Kit smoke available for Moth, and he's going to try to find the bomb, but he takes so much damage in the process that it's just not possible for him to really get on it. And now that head's been spotted as well. It's just a matter of time. Knife should be able to swing through. Oh my god, he got away with it. He actually got away with it, Moth. A murder for the Brazilians, but they get the 1-0 start.
What? There's no way. On the edge of the smoke, he gets the defusal. I don't know why Rush doesn't pull out the pistol and start shooting sooner. That is a coup for Lazer. They're probably freaking out on the comms right now. That's why you're going to see the timeout called here. They are pumped that they were able to sneak that one through. But my goodness, that did not go the way Nouns drew it up. So many players still standing, but they couldn't find the frag until a millisecond after the bomb was defused. Goodness me.
I will say, with both of these maps, we've had some really awesome highlight reel rounds on both ends of the equation. So, you know, for Lazer, they're showing that they can hang with some of the best in North America. And they're all doing it while giving us a smile on the faces. So, I mean, this is a fun little series when everything is said and done. Still a lot to play, though. I mean, it's only round 2 now. And the buy will be potent, considering all those vests were still up. And that means 4 Galils. They're looking to just completely dry swing out. That nade is good to do some auxiliary damage. But Landon's caught in the left side of the window.
Yeah, he is spotted as well, so, I mean, the smoke helps him fade away, so he'll be fine. That's information gained for Nouns, who will be afforded this mid control. They did have the bomb planted the previous round, a lot of frags as well. That means the Galils and the AKs can still come up. CJ swinging around. Oh, W1's not even expecting that. Junior with a follow-up as well. 5v3 in favor of Nouns, and the A site is pretty much abandoned by Lazer. They fall off. Landon is going to connect on the head of Carson from window, but, I mean, bomb goes down, no questions asked here.
Yeah, very awkward setup there from Lazer. I mean, you've got an A main player as well as a site player, but that player on A main is so worried about the Palace lurk. But, bro, you're there to really focus forward. You're there to hold on to ramp. And unfortunately, he gets absolutely blindsided by CJ's Tech 9, and then it's pretty much done and dusted. You can easily split into that site, easily find that side anchor, and Lazer very smartly back away and save on to these guns because they've still got a potent buy in the following with these 3 rifles.
Yeah, I'm surprised they pulled the plug when they did, though, because it felt like they still had a chance to get back into it.
For sure.
Maybe Tadazin recognizing the fact that he was a little bit isolated towards CT. I don't know what went through their minds, but they said, you know what, let's give it up. Let's live to fight another round and fall off. So we are tied 1-1. Honestly, could easily have been 2-0 again for Nouns, but that defusal in the smoke was the difference.
We have a weird 3rd round buy on both ends, but Noko and his compatriot aggress down into underpass, looking to overwhelm Rush, and they absolutely will. He goes down with nothing. I mean, the information is definitely gained and the bomb is recovered, but Nouns have to be quick about this. They've got to find a little more map control now that they know what's really coming. Yeah, very good kill from Junior to find as well to punish the aggression.
George trying to punish it even further here as they're trying to peek around from Con. Eventually the smoke goes up here. Do they realize there's a player still in Con itself that could punish them? That's W1. Beats around W1. Oh, doesn't get so much damage done. He got Junior down to 8 HP, but couldn't finish his food. Molotov burning away at the feet of Landon, so he has to vacate the premises. Dinogo trying to get something. He's got a couple of very low players, so he can possibly do the damage. There's one. Tadazin gets the second. Dinoko's still standing, and now they readjust themselves towards a vacated A site. So another great read from Nouns, but still, I mean, Lazer are going to be on their heels very quickly.
Yeah, 3 players coming from connector. That Molotov is fantastic. It doesn't flush out Junior completely, though, and Dinoko falls. Carson can now nestle himself into that A site. Junior is just going to have to play his life. He does manage to scamper out of the murder hole back into CT territory, and Landon, he's wondering where the hell Junior's gone off to, but Junior, he's going to go back through the murder hole. He's got the backstab instantaneously. He knows one player is spotted onto the bomb, but at the 10-second defuse, Carson surely will find him, and Nouns still find themselves in the lead with 2 rounds.
Oh my goodness. I thought for a moment it would happen again, that the smoke diffusal would come through for Lazer, but no. This time Carson has his wits about him, and he takes care of business. 2-1 for Nouns. Lazer lose everything. They can't save the guns, and they will be stuck on a full-on eco here. I don't even know if they invest anything. They don't. $0 spent, which means either an aggressive push through mid or a stack on one of the sites, and the site stack might come in for B. Yeah, I think they're just going to try and push underpass is my guess and meet up with the B players towards the site, but instead it actually looks more like a mid crunch that will come through. Anyway, Nouns should be on the A site before Lazer have an inkling of what's happening here.
Yeah, they're just going to try to swarm by numbers and see if they can take over a gun. And here comes that sweep. AK should be able to mop them up no problem. Patterson does find one. And now Carson down low to bullets, and another rifle is found. So at this point, if I'm Lazer, I'm just heading for the hills. I'm running right back to that B bomb site, holding on to these rifles and sending them into round number 5. And they understand that. They're going through with that as well. So. Very smart decision from the Brazilians, and they'll capitalize on this full eco They'll send... Okay, never mind. I was thinking they would send at least one player in George, but he'll opt against it.
Yeah, I mean, that's positive $5,400 just in the rifles. Not to mention they also picked up a flash and a smoke off the ground. That is pretty successful for a full-on eco, honestly. So Nouns going to get a third, but again, Lazer are staying in it in the early goings, getting the damage, keeping the guns up, and getting some saved over into the follow-up rounds.
Now, Lazer have an option if they want to completely buy in, and they will. They will opt in for that. They will not have the sniper for Landon, but they're going to have to just make do with the rifles here. But Nouns so far, they're establishing mid control as we kind of expected. Their extremity players are doing a lot of work to punish some aggression from the CT side. Some mid aggression from Dinoco to try and duel. Oh, and Carson just finds one right before he falls, but it's an all-out A brawl where they trade effectively. They've gotten themselves that first letter of the alphabet. The bomb should be able to go down. But Landon's pretty close here on this fast CT aggression.
Yeah, he could do some damage here. Trying to come around the corner with Tadazine in synchronization. There's Junior getting nothing. Landon and Tadazine doing a great job. In fact, it's now a 2v1. Only Rush left. Rush peeks around. Ooh. He cannot win both duels. Moth finds the headshot, and it will be Lazer winning the round with the saved AKs, showcasing themselves at the right time.
Yeah, it's a really risky decision for Moth to rotate from jungle all the way to CT spawn, but he gets in there just in the nick of time to trade out his teammate. There was a real world where Rush could have isolated those two 1v1s and won the clutch, but spacing was just a little bit better from that CT side. They reorient themselves, they keep this game one round the difference. And Landon will also have enough to purchase in that sniper rifle. Curious to see his decision making in this round. But so far, Lazer continue to show that they can hang around with the caliber of Nouns on Mirage.
See how long that lasts, though. They're charging up mid. Dinoco catches Carson in a corner, but the flashbang saves the day for Carson. George throws a perfect one. Moth down to 13 HP as well. Oh my goodness, the damage is going both ways. The Junior hits the headshot onto W1, and Moth is still limping away towards that B site. Mid-control gained with authority from Nouns. Now they'll walk into either bomb site. It will be A, and there's another one from George. A ripper of a shot. 5v2 for Nouns, and this round is done.
Yeah, if you want to fight fire with fire and try to take back mid-control, it's going to have to be a lot more decisive than that. The flashbangs are perfect for Nouns in that little mid-brawl. And you could just see how discombobulated some of these players are on Lazer. Players looking at walls, staring up into the sky, not knowing where they're really being attacked from. And as soon as they do establish those 2 kills, it's just off to the races for that A bomb site control. I don't think they'll be able to save the game. CJ's going to go bounding through, but the trade is there. Tadazin's been spotted. Get to him. Oh, yeah, that's kind of insane that he's able to get that off. But he'll hold on to the A4, but that's about it, John. I mean, Nouns looking to get themselves a 5th here, surely.
Yeah, no, I mean, Tadazine at least hanging on to that. I honestly didn't expect it. Just a pre-fire that goes perfectly for him. The bullet and the crosshair were at the right place at the right time. But you're right, Nouns, I don't see a world where they won't get a 5th round here. Tadazine will probably play a more passive angle so that if things start going wrong, he can retreat and continue to save that M4 on to the next round. As I say that, he's charging into Palace with Landon, so I guess not. But it is a risk for them to try and take this space. Landon is going to be the only one to continue forward as Tadazine does indeed fall back to a safer angle. 3 players on to B, and Nouns are just kind of taking their time and waiting for some aggression to come through by playing defaults here.
Instead, Lazer are just going to sit back on the information they've garnered with that triple B gamble. And Tadazin is leaning towards that side of the map as well. But again, they don't have any information in mid. They have no idea what's going on in ladder or connector or even window for that matter. CJ will get himself into ladder. Now Molly off the catwalk. It's really up to Carson to really take some space into that A site. And Nouns will commit to this. They have the option to leave if they want to, but the B split is looking very convincing to them.
I can't believe Dinoco's alive. Both nades connecting with him. 5 HP left, and it hasn't been done by any bullets from the AKs. You see Nouns are thinking, what the heck is going on? 32 seconds left. They don't have a choice now. They have to go towards this B site. It will be a little bit problematic. George falling.
Oh!
I mean, they have time, but it is going to be very difficult to get back to A. No one is there, so that's the good news. Rush gets a couple headshots there onto W1 and Moth, and now Rush finds himself a third. He's mopping up all the bodies. The bomb plant comes through. They do have time to rotate. I thought it would be a little tighter than that, but they still had 10 seconds to spare.
Whew. Crisis averted for Nouns. You could see that split looking very dangerous for themselves. Shooting themselves in the foot for that matter. Especially when you have con control like that. I always just ask for the teams to slow the rounds down, and luckily they did just in time. As soon as Carson clears out that top of connector and clears out jungle, it's a no-brainer. You gotta reorient the bomb the other end. George? Is he okay here?
Terrorists win.
But
he is.
The rifles will be held on to.
Yeah.
And win-win for Lazer in some senses, considering that was that full eco.
Yeah, again, they get a couple of AKs off of a full eco, which is crazy that it happens twice in a row, but they manage it. I think they had that one rifle at least, the M4, which got upgraded, of course, but still. 5-2 for Nouns. Still looking strong, all things considered, but Lazer showing that they're no slouches, and they do belong here at the ECL level. At least so far, they've shown that. I never expected them to come out with a win against Nouns, but certainly making some noise against them is something to speak about. Landon gets the off shot onto Carson. Rush comes out and gets a trade onto W1. Dinoco's here, but he's the lone ranger, has to wait for reinforcements to come through, and if he is dropped here before they arrive, it will be even more problematic to try and get the retake going. He does manage to slip through the smoke and get back towards the middle, but oh no, his head was spotted out over the edge of it. Rush gets the headshot, and now Lazer are thinking, oh boy, we lost our presence. Do we even try to get back into the site, or are we just falling off to save because the economy is not great?
They were hoping that maybe if Dinoco is able to live in connector, maybe you have that flank from Moth and T-Spawn to formulate and find a kill back, but yeah, that kill onto Dinoco basically seals the deal. It was a bad smoke for Nouns, and it actually is a blessing in disguise of sorts. It gives them a little bit of a headshot angle to Rush, and this guy has been individually very crisp at the start of this series. I mean, on Ancient, had some very key impact frags on that defense, and now here on Mirage, also showing how important he is.
Terrorists win.
So we move on. 6-2 in favor of Nouns. Again, guaranteeing that at the very most, Lazer will be able to tie this one up, but they need 4 in a row, and it has to start, I would say, right now if they want to try and rack up a few more rounds. Because, well, it hasn't looked that great, aside from the pistol round, which was a little bit surprising in itself that he got the defusal off, and then a follow-up afterwards, which was down to, I think, only one player. Anyway, double lob setup coming through here for Lazer. We don't see it that often anymore in CS2 because of the way the op plays out, but it can work very effectively on maps like Mirage and Dust 2. Nouns trying to go quickly and aggressively here into the site, and speaking of ops, there's Moth connecting onto CJ, but he has to be careful. They could overload him very quickly, but surprisingly, Nouns don't choose to do that. They slow up considerably, Paladin.
Yeah, and I think they get that information that double op setup is in play. That's all the information that they wanted. They pump fake, essentially. They've still got a couple belts of utility, meaning there's still a little bit more in them if they want to move back to that A-bomb site, or at least establish mid control. And that's what they'll do. They'll smoke off window, they'll get out of the underpass, and Lazer don't want anything to do with this mid space. It's been a real thorn in their side, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, now it's just so good at taking. It's going to be more passive. Oh, Tadazine turns around at the wrong time. Not sure if there was an audio cue or something that made him turn his head. In the meantime, Denoco does manage to get the immediate trade, but the B site is a little bit more vulnerable. George waiting for a rotation to come through to try and make it a 3v3 before they go for the actual take. That's a perfect Molotov at the feet of Moth, but Junior turns around at the wrong time, and Moth the 2K, one after the other. Carson the last to fall, and there's Lazer on the board again in very decisive fashion. The double op rings true, and in fact, it was just one op that was doing the work. It's Moth with 3 frags.
That's lovely stuff there from Moth. I kind of expected him to provide that level of firepower, and he does so in spades. But a lot more work to be done in this half. Only 3 rounds to speak of, and I don't really feel like they've been all too replicable apart from that round previous. But they've got a chance to make do with what they've got, especially considering this is the last buy for Nouns. They're going to Hail Mary into that B bomb site, straight into that secondary AWP. Moth is up to bat once more, and he passes that test.
Moth is ridiculous right now with the big green. Denoco going to try and follow up. He doesn't, but his teammate will get the trade immediately. And Moth, another 3K with the up. What a time for him to find his form with the sniper rifle. And now it's only a 2-round lead for Nouns. And as you mentioned earlier, the rifles may not be able to come out into this round. They could opt to force up here, get George and Rush onto Galil's with utility and everyone else onto pistols, but I think it would be better to wait for the final round. Maybe they'll get some light upgrades here, but that's probably the most that we'll see.
I've seen them do some damage on these Deagles now and again, but with no armor, it's going to be really tough. Make me eat my words, George,
Jeez.
please.
Oh my goodness, yes. George, what a shot. Now a 5v4. They won't be able to recover the rifle, of course, at least not yet. I think Rush is in a position to try and make a dive for it, but Tadazine's watching. Oh, Tadazine sees his hand as well. Rush is dead to rights, and no! He survives with 1 HP! Counting his lucky stars. Another chance here to do some damage and keeping it at an even 5v5 as Nouns have worked 3 players in towards ramp, 1 into Palace, and that Palace player's gone. W1 ventilates him with the AK and then takes care of CJ as well, so this round is probably a non-starter at this point, even though it was an exciting start for Nouns.
You're not believing in the Rush 1 HP?
Not quite.
Picked up an A1S, but it's easy pickings for Landon. 5 rounds found for E-Xolos-Lazer, and a chance to equalize it at the end of the half. A way to reorient themselves. Credit to Moth to getting them back on track. A couple of huge heroic rounds on that B bomb site to really pull them back together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Moth is, at this point for me, the MVP of the CT side for Lazer. The only reason why they were able to get up to this scoreline and make it as close as it is. Now Nouns have the AKs back, though. We'll see if they go for one of their signature quick pushes, which they haven't really done that much so far in this half, aside from the mid control they've gained. There's the smokes and the flashes. They're trying to make it look like it'll be a quick execute. I'm not sure if it actually will be. But yeah, no, they've got 2 players lined up at connector, and the other 3 are working their way, and that's going to trigger them to move forward. Landon gets the trade, but they're already in. They're going to start putting pressure onto the A site defenders as CJ's waiting for Landon to try and come in con. He sees him, he takes him out as well, and that will give them the manage they're looking for, although W1 is right around the corner, and the trades continue to come through until we're down to a 1v1. Rush up against Moth. Moth lower in terms of health, but that won't matter with the big green in his hands. He has to guess right here. Rush looking around, deciding where he needs to go. This is the angle being watched by Moth, but he turns away right as Rush comes out of the broken wall. Oh my goodness, Rush looking for something. And is the timing going to be in his favor? Oh, he gets caught in the door frame, but it doesn't get punished. I don't think Moth saw him. nor heard him. So the bomb gets planted. Now Moth has to guess which site it's on. It looks like he realizes quickly it is not the A site, so he starts deviating himself to B. But oh my goodness. Everything could have gone wrong for Rush, but the timing just worked out for him every single moment. Bomb ticking away. About half the time left on it here for him. Moth moving in, needs to get a quick frag. I mean, he'd rather have a rifle in the situation, has no idea where to look. I think he's already out of time. He's going to try and stick it. Rush doesn't think he's going to, and he hits the shot, but now, will he have enough time to get the defusal? It's going to be down to the wire. And no, he won't get it. 7-5 in favor of Nouns. Rush hangs on to give his team a slim lead as we head to the break. We're back. A lot closer than we expected here between Nouns and Lazer. Only 2 rounds separating the 2 squads, and it could have even been a tie game. That's how close it got in that final round of play. But Nouns are now on to their favorite side, the CT side, and this is one where they love to get aggressive. We talked about it. They want that mid control early, and look at this actually going 3 players underpass, only 1 on A, that's Junior, and all 5 of the Lazer players are headed in his direction.
He's going to have to stand and deliver and then some. At least stall for long enough that maybe he can find some damage, but Danoko ripped his head off. Bomb should be planted momentarily, but this is going to be a tough retake for Nouns. And look at this. Moth, Danoko, they chime in with some more CT aggression. This looks over and done with.
Yeah, more than likely. Rush has to do something heroic here to even get a chance to find their way back onto the site. The armor, okay. I was going to say the armor might be worth saving, but they're already dead. There's no chance. Dinoco gets the last here. 6th round found for Lazer. A decisive pistol round from them, largely in part thanks to Dinoco's 3K. And they are right back into the swing of things. Nouns almost certainly going to go for the eco here. I don't see them investing too heavily.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think it's really worth it at this point. Just play it out at evens at 7 and kind of go from there. W1 smoking off middle. They'll get that early mid control at the very least. And Nouns don't want to overcomplicate things. Just going as a conga line into connector. There's one singular flashbang. I'm considering that they're just going to fly out and hope they can find something off the back of that one flash. Just a matter of time now. Comes.
Yep, they do something here. Dinoco, not exactly the cleanest of sprays. George gets one, Carson another. It's a couple of AKs off the ground here for Nouns and hold the phone. I mean, they've got the B site through Lazer, but Nouns could charge in here and potentially make it a little bit more difficult for Lazer. Maybe even find the round, but I mean, they're really far away. They don't have the kits. Perhaps just taking the Galil and the AK out of the round will be the best choice for them, and that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, they'll send Rush to see if he can find another kill on the way out. He's hearing Mott's footsteps, but can't really do anything about it. And Mott will evacuate. They'll all move into CT spawn. They'll be able to hold on to the rest of those rifles. But nice finds for Nouns with that singular $200 investment. Oh wow, they actually get to scavenge a Molotov as well. So a nice $400 found on the ground as well.
Alrighty. Not too shabby at all here for Nouns out of that round, but we are tied up 7-7. So no dominant half yet for Nouns. Maybe the latter part of the second half of Ancient, but I mean, Lazer's been hanging in there. They've been a thorn in the side of this Nouns squad, which is a really good sign if you're a Lazer fan, because Nouns are one of those teams that you can certainly be dominated against if you don't bring your A game. All right, there's an opener from Junior. Nice movement to get on top of the fencing there and then push up towards mid. Carson loves to put pressure here with the rifles. And he is, again, walking through the smoke. Landon has absolutely no idea. And there it is. Headshot found. 5v3 in favor of Nouns. CJ on top of the fencing. Oh, this stays there a little bit too long. Dinoco manages to get a frag here. Nade sails in and does very little damage, but Junior does it all with the bullets instead. 4v2. W1 spotting out a player, gaining space onto the B site. This could yield a plant, and I think it should. They might lose another player, but they don't. Moth is actually heads up there to find Junior. So a 3v2 man advantage for Nouns on the retake.
It's still very doable for the Brazilians. They've gotten into some pretty good post plants. Carson's here for that late apartments flank, and he's been caught out by W1. This is all really T-favored at this point. W1 will double down. And now George is headed for the hills, picking up a little bit of utility at top mid. And the Brazilians reclaim, or I should say claim, the lead for the first time in this game. Or maybe second time, beyond that pistol.
Yeah, they had the pistol lead, but it hasn't been very often that they've had a lead that's lasted very long. We'll see if this one is a little more extended. George does manage to upgrade from a Galil to an AK. And the rest of his team, he could drop one. I mean, even two M4s. Junior has 5.2k. I think this happens. I think that they go for a buy up here on the Nouns side. Maybe they'll call a timeout to talk things over. No, they're just going to go for it. Makes sense. The money is there. So we'll see if they can strike back immediately and tie this one up once more. But Lazer's looking pretty good so far on their T side, especially the case of that B site. Landon rattles off a shot there, pre-firing around the corner, doesn't connect on anything, and now Junior's going to try and spot out a player.
Ballsy to go for the repeat, but that's the Junior trademark.
Oh yeah.
To hold on to that mid-box line. Tadazin has made his way out, so the possibility at finding kills there, but Dinoco has made his way through the underpass. He spotted at least a shoulder of Junior at this point. And they've established mid control by hook or by crook.
Oh, look at this. Moth could do a lot of damage again here. Oh, gets spotted out, and now he's trying to retreat. Flashbang thrown. He will survive. Nouns, again, are going to try and push in and do some damage, but Dinoco and W1 are up to the task and more. CJ only gets one before he is dropped as well. Junior connecting onto Dinoco could open a path back into this A site, but he's alone for now. He's just trying to hold them off on the angle here, standing in that Molotov a little bit too long. And with that, not finding anything, I think they just retreat. Lazer are going to have a 2-round lead over Nouns here on Nouns' best map in their pool.
Yeah, at that point, Lazer just living on that A main aggression from Nouns is everything, because that's when the Palace player can strike. That late Con lurk also has a little bit of potency as well. I mean, that is just a bunch of very well-coordinated lurks from Lazer, coordinating themselves into a beautiful little A site hit. And Nouns, their aggression is being punished. And the Brazilians are running rampant. Mirage is not a formality as we had kind of expected.
Yeah.
They're going to have to work for this one, John.
Absolutely. Nouns, and not to mention, I mean, their economy is still a little precarious. They could justify a force up again here. I feel like they will because it's available to them, but going for an eco isn't a bad idea either, and building up that economy for a proper buy-up, and it appears to be, well, not an eco, but a half buy that comes through. I think this is definitely the right call from them. Sure, you might give up double digits to Lazer, but you set yourselves up for a much better follow-up round, and it's not a guarantee that Lazer will pull this one off either. Junior's got the AWP, and he is watching, I believe, from Connector, yeah, and he actually already gets one on to Landon. Great spot towards a ramp, in fact. Then he rotates into mid, gets his head taken off afterwards by Dinoco, so perhaps a step too far. Tadazine strikes true onto CJ, and now tapping away, he finds Carson through the smoke. It is all Lazer all the time until George finally puts a stop to Dinoco. He's looking for that gun. He can't find it just yet. Goes to the stairs just in time for W1 to spot him out, and he almost sprays George down to 0 health. But George will be able to limp away with 21 HP to his name. The problem here, Paladin, is that the A site is completely free for the taking.
Yeah, and I think George just wants to live with this AWP.
Yes.
Maybe he can find one on the way out, but Lazer, they managed to make this work, but oh my goodness, I think they're still going to have a look in, especially considering Rush has this flank timing, but Tadazin is watching it. Very smart there from Tadazin.
What's George doing? George, what are you doing?
Oh.
Why are you going? George, why? Why? No. I mean, yes, Junior can buy the op into this round, but like, what chance do you have going in with an op sneaking through a smoke in that situation? That is a bit of a weird individual choice, but okay. Timeout going to be called, maybe to talk that one over and say, hey, George, and I don't know about that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it is an inherent risk. I mean, I don't really like it, but George will have to live with those consequences. I mean, 5 and 10, CJ 5 and 15. Very uncharacteristic games from both of these individuals.
Yeah.
And Lazer, man, they're looking coordinated on this T side. They're very understanding of how they want to play this map out, and they're catching Nouns' aggression very smartly, no matter what part of the round it may be.
Well, last season there was a bit of an upset that happened in Nouns' second series of ECL Season 47, where they lost a map to Mythic. Maybe that happens again to start Season 48. That loss against Lazer. Dinoco's already got Junior dead to rights. Follow-up as well. What is happening here? 5v3. That aggression towards mid is yielding nothing for Nouns. Tadazine pop George in the head. In fact, he's going to find CJ first. Might overlook George now, but no, he's already ready to throw the Molotov. W1 is prepared to flush him out with the AK afterwards and does exactly that. Rush, last one standing, and will at least find one onto Tadazine, but he takes a lot of damage, down to half health. Good flashbang thrown to get him a readjustment towards the site, but he's just got so many bodies to find. And the way Lazer are set up here, you think that they'll have the edge. He spotted the barrel of the ops, so he has the jump here potentially on one. There it is. Landon found. Follow-up as well. Hold the phone. Rush has the 3K, but no. Moth, the hero, finds the last 11-7 in favor of Lazer, and that is Moth's 15th frag. He leads the entire server here, tied with Junior on the other side.
And 19 rounds played, only 6 deaths.
Yeah.
John, that is insane to have as far as that KD stat line. But right now, Lazer are punishing every opening gambit that Nouns is throwing at them. Junior is trying so hard to find impact on that AWP, but at every turn he is being just figured it out.
I think he's forcing the issue a little bit too much.
I do agree. I do agree.
Going to underpass, right? It just felt like that was an unnecessary move. Anyway, he's been so good up to this point. I think he just kind of expects himself to find something to contribute to his team at times. Well, here he's hiding in the smoke. Probably hear Dinoco go through. Dinoco's dead. George and Rush combine there with the double peek. Tadazine does find Junior afterwards, and now Landon is in a tough spot. Tadazine trying to support him, and he's doing a great job at that. Gives his team the man edge. Still holding Cat. Carson doubles back here to try and deal with W1. His teammate falls. Yeah, Carson does manage to get the trade, even though he's down to 13 HP, but again, I think Nouns are on the outside looking in this round and will likely save for overtime.
Yeah, they want to try to do that 5-round run back, but
Oof.
man, oh man, this is going to be a tough task. Lazer have just charged up, and I can't even like imagine how this game has just slipped right from their grasp. They did all their hard work on that T side. And nothing defensively. I mean, we've seen such clinical CT sides from this squad in games past that you're thinking this is pretty much over. But I mean, credit to E-Xolos-Lazer for just completely proving me wrong.
I think one thing that Lazer is doing right here is they're exposing the gap in the defense of Nouns, because if you watch Nouns' tape on this map, you know that they love to get aggressive into mid, jumping out the window, charging in from con, going to top mid, but that takes a lot of bodies, right? And it leaves those defensive gaps, and one of them is that B site, and you've seen Lazer multiple times now get into B, winning a couple of fights maybe towards the A site as well, but that B site has been abused, and Nouns just can't hang on to it. So great on Lazer. I mean, they've been flawless so far in the second half. They have played very, very well. It is not just Nouns' missteps. They have had a couple, but Lazer have punished them and done a great job strategically.
And now they take a timeout to discuss this all-important round. They don't want Nouns to get any sort of momentum and pull this back to overtime. They want to finish this right here, right now. What's the game plan from the Brazilians? Looks like mid control is still firmly going to be in their sights. Tadazine has an opportunity at an opener, but Flash does avert his gaze just slightly. And Nouns feeling a little bit more apprehensive.
Junior, ooh, misses the shot. That would have been a ridiculous one to hit, honestly. It's George waiting there towards Ticket. He's the only one on A. What were you going to say, Paladin?
Again, underpass aggression.
But
and
this time
it might actually find something. Dinoco is trying to sell something, but they're going to find his back turned and realize this is all a ruse. They're going to have to try to run back into this A site. George has to stay alive for as long as possible as this cavalry continues to arrive. Carson knows what's coming. But dudes, Lazer know that that's coming on the other end. No, they don't.
Oh, Carson trying to collect another scalp. He's got such a good opportunity to do it. There it is. Another perhaps on the cards? No. Finally, W1 shuts him down. But it is a 4v2 for Nouns. 45 seconds left. They're giving them the fights. They keep giving them the fights. Landon and W1 get 2 more, and now we're even in terms of numbers. Look, the health is not great for Lazer, but they've got a free and clear B site to take. Junior is coming in on the flank, but he's going to be too late to deal with them. They're already going to have site control by the time he gets up there. At least I say that. Almost didn't. They both dropped down. There's the bomb planted. Junior, along with George, are coming from the same angle. There's the smoke thrown. It's not in time. Junior collects the head of W1. Only Landon left, and he's watching the wrong angle. No one is going to be coming from that vicinity. He has to be quick on the trigger and the reactions to realize what is going down and make the adaptation necessary to win this round. Bomb ticking away. Going to be a smoke thrown down on it. They know he has the op, so just going to be stuck, but he connects on a Junior! One more required. George going to try to stick it as well. Landon actually pulls him off it somehow. I don't know what happens. George is going to give him the round. That's going to be it. Lazer taking it, Landon with a no-scope to wrap it up. Unbelievable stuff from Lazer as they take it 13-7, flawless on their T side.
You know, we questioned whether we would get an upset today, and we absolutely did. E-Xolos-Lazer shocking us here on Mirage to do it on Nouns' home turf and to do it in style like that. What a map of Mirage, John. That was a fun best of one.
Oh my goodness, that was really wild, honestly. Delivered more than I personally expected, and yeah, I mean, insane. Like, that was just ridiculous. My MVP for that one is Moth, for sure, because he was able to get those 2 rounds in a row, if you recall, all the way back to that first half with the AWP, where he had 6 frags combined, and that's what really powered Lazer forward on their defensive side, and then the offensive side. I mean, they had the great momentum, Paladin.
Yeah, no, completely agree. We'll take a look at the Kadia player to watch. We had picked out Junior, and, you know, this guy had a lot of impact in the series, was very impactful on Ancient. Basically, the sole reason why they were able to catapult back into that game altogether. But on Mirage, I think he tried to don that superhero mantle a little bit too much, that we kind of discussed. There was certain situations where he had the AWP, and he tried these kinds of underpass top mid plays that didn't need to be pushed. But even beyond that, I still think that he had his firm imprint on this game and still showed that he's got a lot of importance to this Nouns squad.
Yeah, so, I mean, honestly, I kind of agree with you, honestly, that Junior tried to force the issue way too much at certain points. And I get it, because he feels like he has to make something happen on the defensive side as the opper. But maybe just being a little more passive would have been better. Still, I can't really fault him. He had a great series, and you're going to see his series stats coming through here. 35 frags overall, 86 ADR, 1.52 KDR. His rating was good as well. I can't really fault Junior individually for the loss there from Nouns. It was as a unit they failed on their defensive side, and Lazer was the one that forced them to with the way they played. All that being said, guys, that is going to do it for this matchup. It ends up 1-1 at the end, and Lazer are a team to keep an eye on. For Paladin, I am JRT, signing off. Have yourselves an awesome night.
Bye.